I'm delighted to present Dr. Kathryn Sullivan with the Linda Duttenhaver Distinguished Alumni Award. This is the highest award given by UCEAP, and we're very pleased to have you be the recipient for 2015.
Well, alors, merci Jean-Xavier, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I know we'll do a bit of a conversation, but as I thought about what things to say briefly, by way of thank you for this award, I'll reach a little bit back into the events that led me to study at the University of Bergen for, as it turns out, 15 months. This was in the good olden days where you stayed for longer. I'd actually thought about and dreamt of studying abroad and as a chance to live abroad, not just travel or visit, since about 8th grade. Mine was not a family that was going to do international travel. We were not a family where you could imagine easy prospects of somebody buying you airline tickets to wander around the planet, but that's actually exactly what I wanted to do. And it turns out in 8th grade, we took a course, I think they called it guidance, which was meant to get you thinking a bit about what is the purpose of high school in your life, other than to store you from 8 until 4 o'clock so you stay out of your parents' way. And one of the things it was also trying to encourage you to raise your academic sights and think about and aim for a college career. And so one of the brochures or facets of going to university that they presented was education abroad. And I remember seeing probably just a fold-out brochure that described a campus in France, a campus in Italy, one in the United Kingdom, and you get to live there, you're immersed in the place, turned over to the practical information on the back. It's articulated fully with your course credit, so it won't cost you an extra year of college. That was important. And basically your same fee structure as your home university plus an airline ticket. And I can do that. And then I went to what are the academic credentials to get into this school and go. Well, I realized sometime later the brochure I was looking at was Stanford's education abroad program, and there was no way on God's great earth I was ever going to go to Stanford. I didn't do any of the huge number of extracurricular and other things that I think you had to check the square on even then to get into Stanford, and we certainly were not going to be able to afford Stanford. So a year or so later, several years later, when I ended up at UC Santa Cruz and discovered there is an education abroad program here, it was right on my radar screen right away. We went through all the drill, got everything lined up, and was accepted to Norway. And it was really then I looked at, because I had changed majors my freshman year from an arts and language major to a science major. I was behind on courses, and I sat down and looked at what course sequence could I take in Norway, reading between the lines on their catalog, and compared that to the really densely packed junior year I could have if I stayed home. And it, for a moment, looked a whole lot smarter to stay home and just plow through all these courses. So I went to see my primary advisor and said that to him, and it was the only time he ever really laughed in my face. and flat out said what I think is really the fundamental truth of education abroad, and certainly a really rich and long immersive one. He said in a nutshell, don't be silly. They will teach you more in an academic year than we will teach you through your entire 4 years. Go. And he was right. To this day, I retain fluent language skills, number of friends in Norway, a really deep love of the country, and countless other remnants from that year that served me very, very well. And my favorite one of all of those comes from a tradition I've never seen anywhere else, but I think would really be a great one to start. When you get to a Norwegian university, like a lot of universities do, but not UC as far as I know, they have a convocation ceremony. It's the ceremonial moment that you're made a member of the community. And at Norwegian universities, at least back then, they actually issued you a really elegantly written, all in Latin, certificate of citizenship in the academic community of that university. So I still have on my wall at home my Statsborgerbrev from the University of Bergen, and I'm very proud to still consider myself a member of the Bergen academic community. Jean-Xavier, if you need a director in Oslo, do let me know. I can have someone who's quite fluent and might be able to help you out. But in the meanwhile, thank you very much for this very lovely award. It was a great experience and a treasure in my life, and this is a treasure I'll take with me now. Thank you.
Do you have a favorite memory or story from your time just living in Norway?
Oh boy, as anyone who's been on these would say, you know, how many do you want to count up? Well, so three. 20 University of California exchange students in a little pod salted through this one student housing project, and well, I think all of us dead broke. I was certainly dead broke. And it's Bergen, Norway, and we're from California. And so we get there, and the first day it rains, we just stay inside. And the second day, and the third day, and I don't know, somewhere around day something or other, I think we clustered in somebody's kitchen and said, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work. And, you know, made our way downtown and just bought the Wellingtons and the Slickers, which is what Bergensere live in. The other sort of group story was one gal's mother would stack up Los Angeles Times for some amount of time and ship them over. And whenever there was a parcel load of LA Times that arrived, because Norwegian newspapers are this thin and don't exist on Saturday or Sunday, you know, we would all descend into her kitchen and just, you know, steal sections of the paper and pour over it. And then the other one, as a Californian, was that one day I got into a conversation with the two Swedish roommates who lived in my hallway about, you know, different foodstuffs and differences between living in Sweden and living in California. Somehow the question of avocados came up. And they said, oh, yes, we love those. Right away, that surprised me. So how do you eat them? So, oh, we slice them really thin, and we eat them with milk and sugar. That sounds horrible. Well, how do you eat them? And I gave the salad version. So we pooled our money. This was the world before the global distribution of food. And this is Norway, and it's Bergen, Norway, which was a very tiny provincial town at the time. So we pooled our money until we could go buy a avocado and brought it back to the dorm and split it and said, you do it your way and I'll do it my way, and then did the taste test. So it was, milk and sugar was better than I thought, but I still got a lot of the salad avocado.
And our last question before we open it up to the audience is, do you have any advice to UC students who are thinking about studying abroad?
Do it. Do it. Whatever it takes, and go for it as long as you can, because I think the many values to it, but there's a real value to getting so deeply out of yourself and your home environment that you gain a level of understanding of another place and another people and another culture that you just don't get by visiting. So when I finished the academic year at the University of Bergen, I asked my parents if I could borrow the money to get on the coastal steamer and go all the way to the top of Norway and hitchhike and backpack back, as opposed to gallivanting across the rest of Europe, because I had the start of an understanding of Norway and of the people, but just in the Oslo-Bergen region. And I figured, you know, what better investment to make than to sort of cap that off with an even deeper experience. And so that's what I did.